Ambassador training here, and we just want to really thank you for your role as a building ambassador. And we're recognizing that you are really at the key link to our success. The Teacher Center is run by a policy board. That policy board must be 51% teachers. And so we truly are teachers for teachers. And then I kind of carry out the wishes of that policy board, and I craft the programs and things based upon what the policy board says we need. And then we have to connect to the teachers. And this is where you as building ambassadors play the role. You are the link that connects everything together. And we're really needing and struggling connecting to teachers. In the past, we would have had tremendous trainings. We used to send out a big booklet, and we used to have a nice lunch or a nice dinner, and our budget just doesn't allow for that anymore. So we're hoping that this building ambassador training will reinvigorate you in understanding what the Teacher Center is all about. So first we'll go through some introductions. We'll go through some see if you have any burning questions. Then we'll talk about what and how you can be a good building ambassador. And then we'll talk about the why it's so important. Usually the why comes before the what and how, but I did the what and how in case people have to leave early. So introductions. Let's start with Stephanie. Can you introduce yourself? And then we'll go to Michelle, and we'll go then to Lewis.
I am Stephanie. I teach Spanish at Stanford Central School, and I'm also a member of Aaron's policy board. I've been on the board, I think, 7 years now. And I've done programs through the Teacher Center since way back in the 1980s when it all started. There's my dating myself.
There we go. That's why I saw your name on things. Steph and Michelle?
Michelle Temming, AIS math teacher at Delaware Academy Elementary School. I'm new to the policy board as well, and I made it through just my first year as an ambassador, or half year as an ambassador. So I was excited to do this to kind of get my, get myself on the right track starting the new school year.
Awesome. And then Lewis?
Good morning, I'm Lou Berrios. I teach 8th grade English at Unitigo. This is my 26th year there. I have been the building ambassador for many years. I don't know how many years, and I really don't feel like I've been very involved with it. I used to pass out those little yellow pamphlets, and I forward the emails, but I'm interested to hear what else I should or could be doing. So,
awesome. And is there any questions that you have before we get started? No, okay. Feel free to jump in at any time. Stephanie, especially you, since you've been at this for so long, you may have other thoughts, tips, tricks, whatever. So your role as a building ambassador is to bring the passion. And so we say participation, attend, support, service, individualize, ownership, and network. So bring that passion. Okay, so we encourage teacher participation and attendance to our programs. That's your primary function, is to get people to come to our programs. Oops, and I guess I should not have clicked on that quite yet. Like Lewis, you were saying, in the past, we used to have the yellow newsletters. We would send that out, and then we would send it to you and then ask you to put it into everybody's mailboxes. We haven't had the budget for that in quite some time, and so we haven't done that. We did try to reintroduce it about a year or two ago, but again, our budget kind of fell through. So we have been going almost exclusively digital now. We use building ambassadors because a lot of schools have filters, so I can't just send out mass emails, and so we'll rely on you to kind of send that information on. We've played around with different formats for our newsletter, but I think this is likely the one that's going to stay with us. The middle section is the parts that will have the advertisements that we offer. And then the sides will be additional information, things about the Teacher Center, who's on the board, who's building ambassadors. Over here will be our programs. The top one will be a link to sign up through Frontline, and then the bottom one, oh, it looks like that one doesn't work, but the bottom one should be a link to join directly to Zoom if a Zoom or virtual is an option for that particular program. We encourage teachers to sign up through Frontline. It's a lot easier to track their CTLE hours and things like that. However, it is not necessary. One of the concerns that teacher centers have always had is school administration being in charge of your professional development. And when you go through Frontline, the school administration does have to sign off on allowing the teacher to come, and we don't really want that to happen. With that said, all our superintendents have signed forms agreeing that they would work with us and that they support what the teacher center is working on and doing. So it should not be a problem for any administrators. And we'd like to know if any administrators are denying participation in our programs. Most of our programs are going to be after school so that it's not in conflict with anything going on in school or school is being required to have substitutes for you. And if at any time I'm not being clear, please jump in and ask the question. So again, if you can sign up through Frontline, otherwise you are welcome to just jump on to the Zoom. If you don't sign up through Frontline, you may miss though if a program is canceled. So we will do our best to have a flyer for each of our programs explaining what our programs are doing. You will be provided a link to a folder that will have these flyers individually in that folder so that you can print them up on your own if you're able to. So I think that's pretty much the newsletter.
Karen, could you make a note of when we get those individual flyers, when they are made, whoever's making them, I don't know if they're doing in PowerPoint, Google, whatever, could they go in and do a custom set for 8.5 by 11 margins so that when we print them on the copier, they fit on one page and we can put them in individual people's mailboxes? Because right now they're just going in and doing it. There's not a custom set and they don't always print like the right size when we print them off.
Oh, interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so the flyers themselves should be that size, but it's not coming out that size, huh?
No, you're going to have to go in and set a custom margin on those.
Because
Because they come out funny sized. Sometimes they're too big, sometimes they're too small, and it may be like when it gets turned into a PDF that's happening. So maybe just get the custom margin set and it'll work better.
I might have to work at that.
Okay.
We use the Canva program, and I thought I had it set on 8.5 by 11 for the flyers themselves, but you're right. Maybe when it shifts over, I'll have to look.
Yeah, it may be, but just for an FYI.
Okay. And let us know what's working for you and not working for you on those flyers or on the newsletters. Amy, we do have a volunteer here in the office and she's been doing more of those newsletters. I keep encouraging her to chop out information because we don't want it to be too much. But if you're finding that people would like more information, then please let me know. So the other ways that you can help teachers participate in our programs is making an announcement at a faculty meeting. Some building ambassadors will talk to their administrator and say, can I have 5 minutes at the end of each faculty meeting so I can talk about what the Teacher Center is doing. Other building ambassadors will do it just at that part where it says good of the order. But trying to try to say something about teacher centers at each one of your faculty meetings. That way it stays on teachers' minds. And if you are able to We'd love for you to print up the flyers and post them in your faculty rooms and by the mailboxes. We're going to ask you to attend the Building Ambassador Network. We hope that this is going to be like a really positive thank you kind of component. We have to do a needs assessment survey. And one of the things that came out of our needs assessment survey is that all teachers want to know what's going on in other schools. So we're hoping that if we build a Building Ambassador Network, you will share what's happening in each of our schools. The other purpose is going to be to clarify what programs we have coming up. And so then you'll be able to talk about it at those faculty meetings, and we'll help you'll have better understanding of what we're offering. In September, I know one of the things that people will be talking about is how are we opening? And what's it look like at Unitigo versus Delhi, right? How is that going? Do you have enough subs? You know, what's that sub situation looking like? So I'm hoping the Building Ambassador Network will just help connect the schools. We're saying that this network is exclusive to Building Ambassadors, but you are welcome to bring a teacher or two along, maybe your association president, anybody that might be able to help facilitate the conversation of what's happening in the schools. S is for support, help us to help you, be the source of information for us, keep your ears out. What are teachers asking for? What are they talking about? What programs do you need from us? What resources do you want, right? So what I like to say is if you hear teachers saying, well, how come we're not doing this? Or why don't we have a training on this? Let us know about that. And maybe we can provide something like that for you. Serve. We want you to serve your school. Bring our programs and resources to your school. So let teachers know the role that you serve. Make it really clear that you are the Building Ambassador and this is your job to network and communicate back to the Teacher Center here. Meet periodically with your association president. They are supposed to be negotiating with the school district your professional development plans. Make sure that we're included in those professional development plans and making sure that they understand what kinds of things that we are working on. Some of the programs that you may wish to bring to your school, we have a poverty simulation. It helps people to understand what it's like to live a week in poverty. It's a really fun staff building activity, but it's a very serious topic. And so there's a lot of value to it. People who've gone through it just rave about it. And we can bring that to your school. So let your administrator know that. We were just talking about living history. We're hoping that we can start bringing that to your school as well. Individualize your support in your support of teachers in your building. Make teachers feel valued by thinking about what programs might be good for them or suggest to them what they could provide for us. So we're a two-way street in a lot of ways. We want teachers to present. We want to increase the overall professionalism of teaching. And part of that is sharing your knowledge. So if you know somebody who's got a great handle on a certain perspective, maybe Lou, if you have something in ELA, you've been doing it for a really long time, you might want to share some strategies or a book or something so you could present for us. We know through experience that the best way to get people to come to our programs is by individually asking them. We can send out blanket invites all day long, but when we say, hey, you know, Michelle, we got this great program for you, that's when we get people to come. Ownership, this is your teacher center. It's really hard for us to really stress this enough, but we serve at the behest of the teachers. So it really is your teacher center. We'd like to ask you to add your role as a building ambassador in your signature line. And let your administrators know that you're the building ambassador. This is your center. And the other part of it is the network and find out what other schools and community organizations are doing. That's one of our great strengths, I think, is people connecting us with community organizations and saying, can you network with them and provide a program? So you can help us network. Any questions? Okay. All right, so we're going to get into the why support teacher centers, because I think this is the critical piece here. We are for teachers by teachers. It is in New York State law, like I said before, that 51% of our policy board has to be teachers. There are many administrators on our board, and we absolutely need administrator support. We can't do things without their support. However, this is one of the only places and times that teachers can outvote the administrators. It's kind of a unique situation. We are a little different because we are what's called a large consortium center, but some teacher centers are single district centers. So they actually outvote their administrators on some things. I can only imagine what those meetings are like. Speaking of that, there are 125 teacher centers throughout New York State. So we have a large network that we work with. And you are welcome to participate in any teacher center programs. Our programs are not very well attended. Other teacher center programs are overflowing. So there is a possibility that you may be denied from their programs just because of enrollment, but you are welcome to join other teacher centers. Each teacher center operates and looks different because they all have their own policy board. We are teacher focused. We build relationships, we unite, we're safe and supportive, and we are teacher leaderships. So we're teacher and not district focused. And we'll open this up for a little bit of a discussion. Why do you think this distinction might be important? Teacher and not district focused.
I think our teacher center, we are an overarching organization where your individual school may have something in their policy, their agenda that they're pushing, where we don't have to be that focused. We can address lots of issues at the same time, and what programs we're offering up here in Stamford may not be the things that are offered in the southern part of Delaware County. So the teacher center kind of can bring everything together, global arching, and not that specific things that your district may be, oh, we're gonna all just talk about this one topic this year. So that's kind of a nice thing. Plus, I think we tend, because we reach out to our teaching assistants as well, and I don't always think our districts do much to help them either. So that's kind of one of our little niches that we do better than the district.
Thank you. Anybody else have a thought?
I was just thinking about teacher growth does not have to be just within your district, right? And so even the possibility of changing districts, right? Like Stephanie said, she started out, I think, in Walton and then moved to Stanford. And so, you know, the programs that you bring to your district don't just have to stay there as you move and grow and kind of follow your own career path or educational journey.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea that Aaron just mentioned, that the teachers would outvote the administration. So often when I think of district, I think of the administration, and I think of these programs that the administration often, kind of force feeds the teachers. So if the teachers are running the show and making the decisions, then aside from what was already said about different districts being different, that's a lot more teacher focused, and certainly It's an opportunity for teachers to promote programs that they really think are important, even though the district might not be as supportive as we would like.
Yeah, awesome. You guys hit on like all the topics. Excellent. So, we would like you to focus on the profession of teaching, and that can often be different than district initiatives. So something off the top of my head that I can think about is a subject like assessment, right? Your district may have a need to drive up standardized test scores, and they may focus on things like that. Whereas we know it's good teaching that really assessment is about a continuous circle and feedback, and authentic assessment has a role to play in it. Whereas your district might say, oh, that's good education, but that's not helping us reach our targeted goals, right? So there can be a difference there. Like I said before, we want to improve you as a professional teacher. So was it Stefan? Oh, Michelle was mentioning, what if you change districts, right? We're concerned with that. We want to build your skills so that you can carry it from school district to school district. We support you as a professional. So I throw Frontline on there because that is what's called a purchase service through the BOCES. BOCES buys that program or a program similar to that, and then the districts buy their services and they get aid back on those services. If we're not in charge of our professional development, BOCES might decide, oh, we're going to change our professional platform. And there have been in discussion about doing that or adding to it. And when you change school districts, it may not follow you. And so we encourage teachers to do professional digital portfolios so that you're taking that information with you. We also think that it's about building relationships and recognizing accomplishments. So there always is a question of how do you get a program into your school? And we at the Teacher Center would argue, go through the teachers. So we're currently working with Cognito through the Otsego system of care. And they chose to go through the administrative process. So they reached out to every superintendent and they said, will you participate in this Cognito program? They reached out to us to help them implement this program, but it is a top-down kind of a way of going about it. Versus the Otsego system, or the Otsego County Conservation Association, they came and said, we'd like teachers to do a program called MeWe in your schools. How can we do that? And I said, well, if you connect with the teachers and run programs for the teachers, develop that passion with the teachers, they can bring it back to their administration. So right now there's about 30 teachers participating in that program. We'll support them as they bring it back to their school districts. School districts tend to like that better. Administration doesn't tend to like to tell you you have to do this program, right? So they like when teachers come and say, I have this deep passion, I'd like to do it. So it usually is supportive in both directions. The other thing is, when a program gets into your school from the top down, it usually goes away when the administration goes away. Teachers often have a desire to keep the programs running. They tend to stay with their school districts longer. And if they leave, they tend to say, hey, can somebody else take this over? So it has a longer shelf life if you go that way. One of the things I worry about, well, no, we'll talk about it this way. So the other thing is recognizing accomplishments. We help launch careers. If we do our jobs right, we can help launch career. This is a picture of Monica Raminger. She presented to our school psychologist on trauma. Amazingly, before COVID, she was talking about this stuff. And I approached her afterwards and said, well, how about we help you go around the state to provide this training to people? And so she contracted with us, and then we helped find her locations to go around the state. And so she now presents to numerous school districts, and we help support and launch that career for her. And by doing this, we build the passion, we build local capacity, and we grow professionals. So this is a picture of Sandra Moxley. Sandra is an LTA here in Oneonta. And she said, I've been really studying up a lot on brain-based learning. Can I present to the LTAs? And so it built her own passion, and it provided some great professional development for those LTAs. And then Stephanie is just a great example of how you can really launch professional development in careers and things through networking. So Stephanie helps build the CAFLA network. It's a foreign language network. It's a really old term, but and that's because it's an old network. And through Stephanie's work, she's connected all kinds of foreign language teachers. And we've been able to do amazing things. Stephanie, you want to talk about that a little bit? Put you on the spot.
Yeah, CAFLA stands for Catskill Area Foreign Language Association, and we get together once a month. We take turns presenting. Last year I did a workshop on how Nearpod can be used in the foreign language classroom. Naomi Graham over in Lawrence did a whole 2 parts on comprehensible input, which is the new pedagogy for foreign language. We have put together next year, it took us about 2 years to really get off the ground. We actually had a 1 in-person day. We were all over in Lawrence Central School having this marvelous workshop with teachers from all over the area. We had great presenters. SUNY had gotten involved, and that was the day we all started getting phone calls. Come back to school, we're closing for 2 weeks. It was just kind of a bizarre thing, but it also really made us come together as a group, that we were kind of experienced this thing together. So we've been meeting from then on online, and this next year we have really branched out, and we've got some of the biggest names in foreign language coming to do online presentations for free to our area teachers. And for most of our area schools, we're singletons. We're 1 teacher that's doing the whole program, or if you're in a bigger school district, there's 1 middle school and 1 high school, and we kind of look at it as we are each other's department, and we're each other's support system. And were able to last year bring in Candace Black, who is in charge of world languages at State Ed, and she came and presented to us. So we've got this little gem, and if your foreign language teachers haven't joined us yet, get them to, because it's really a great support system. Like I said, we are this big department of teachers all off in our own little schools. So it'd be nice if other people could grow their disciplines as well.
So that's a great example of what teacher centers should be about, because they're presenting and supporting each other. It's teachers for teachers. So we are also the living example of the uniting power of teachers. So teacher centers come along from Al Shanker. He goes over to England, and this is in the early 70s, and kind of trying to figure out what England is doing with their teachers and professional development. And he discovers that there's a couple of problems with what's going on, and we continue to do this quite a bit. So one is that when you want professional development, we send you off to this grand and glorious conference somewhere, and you get all jazzed up and you say, this is fantastic. And then you return to the daily grind of school, and you never really get to implement the strategies that you learn. He said, that's no good. The other part of the problem is that typically professional development comes from school administration, where they have to work on their strategic plan and their mission statements and those kinds of things. And he's going, but that doesn't really help teachers with the daily nitty gritty kinds of things. He says teachers should be providing the professional development. They know what they need. So professional development should be done for teachers by teachers. Teachers should control their professional development. What is learned, who can attend, right? So we talked a little bit about if you have an administration, luckily, I don't think we have too many of those kind of administrators, but if they don't like you, they can say, no, you're not attending this program or that program. Well, that doesn't help you as a professional, right? And so we want you to be in control of your own professional development. Professional development, and this is the key one, should be continuous and ongoing, right? So it's not, Stephanie doesn't have a network of foreign language teachers just because they want to talk about one little thing. It's, well, how is it going in the classroom? And then next week they come back, or the next month they come back and they talk about what worked, what didn't work, and it's continuous. The conversation goes from one meeting to the next meeting. It's continuous. And the focus should be on change of classroom practice. And that is an area that I know is of a weakness of mine that I'm hoping to work on. But that's, how do we know good professional development is occurring? It's because you have changed something in your classroom practice based upon that professional development. The other thing the teacher centers are is that they're a safe support. When you go back into the literature about teacher centers and the original concept of it, it really was about providing a safe place. Teachers have always been under the microscope, administrators looking over the shoulders, community members looking over the shoulders, sometimes other teachers even. And back in the 70s, I said, we should have a safe place where we can come and we can discuss things amongst teachers in safety. So my niece is the stereotypical person that you who wanted to be a teacher. So she, ever since she was a little girl, lined up her stuffed animals and did the play pretend class and everything. She went directly into college to become a teacher. She went to Clemson, graduated very higher in her class, and said, I don't know, this is kind of tough. And now she's in the programming world. And I talked to her this summer and I said, are you going to ever go back? She said, I don't think so. So one of the problems in teaching is that I'm expected to know everything. Right? If I had a behavior problem in class, I was supposed to know that. If there was a problem with a curriculum, I was supposed to know that. She said, in the world I work now, I talk to my colleagues about the problems I have, and they all give me different perspectives and ways of looking at how to solve that problem. It's a safe space for them. And we know for teachers to be really successful that that's what they need. They need a safe space. And so that's what the teacher centers are supposed to be about, providing that safe space. I know I started my career off at the Upstate Home for Children, which is a private school. And so when I came over to the public school arena, there were some terminologies that I didn't really know, like a BEN class. I wasn't sure what that was. And it's such basic information that if I had said to my administrator, what's a BEN class? He would have really questioned why he hired me. So I was able to come here and say, I know I should know this, but could you tell me what this is? It was just a safe space. So we honor the history of teacher centers. We are a safe space. We have 2 satellite locations that are really a great location, and a third that we have more resources with. So the one down in Stanford is more of a resource area, although we could turn that more into a actual space. And then we have a space in Bainbridge, Guilford, and we have a space here at Bugby. And we would love for teachers to come and just talk. Quality teaching can only be achieved by willingness to change, and that's best done through trust, right? So we should always be focusing on how do I become a better teacher? And the only way to do that is to say, oh, there are things I can change. But we can't do that under the threat that you're going to get a bad performance review or something like that. We are really big into teacher leadership. The best schools in the nation have really strong teacher leaders. And so we are trying to build our teacher leadership in our region. We're doing that through the National Board Certification process. We have 2 national board certified teachers in our region, at least listed on the website. And that's amongst about 2,800 teachers in our region. We really want to increase that number. National board certified teachers are demonstrated to have their students gain more skills than a non-certified board certified teacher. So there's tremendous advantages of getting your national board certification. I believe it's less than 2% of teachers throughout the nation have their national board certification. It's a serious certification process. They used to run numbers. I don't remember I haven't seen them in a while, but it was something like 40% of teachers get their national board certification on the first try. So it's expected that you're going to miss a component here or there. And so it's a serious certification process, but it's tremendous and built on a lot of self-reflection, lots of questioning techniques. Are you really asking the student to perform the task that you thought you did? How do you know that, right? There's lots of those kinds of questionings. Professional opportunities. So we talked about the idea of people presenting for us, right? One of the concerns that I have now is we're living in the whole Facebook social media realm, right? And if we kind of take that out and we watch what's happening there, teachers are celebrated because they put a nice little graduation sign in front of a student's house, or they brought nice things and they did all these nice things, which is critical. We know that's super important, but that's not what makes you professional, right? And so we are always trying to make you think about what's keeping your skills at a level that is different than the general public. We used to offer action research. I put it in there because we're hoping that we will be able to do that yet again, but we encourage teachers to actually perform research within their classroom. How do we know if strategies are working? Let them do research, and then we would pay them for that. Advocacy. We have the legislative forum every year. It's so important for teachers to come to that. When the Regents reform agenda came through, the superintendents were scrambling to get more ELA and math time in the classrooms. And so they were encouraging social studies and science teachers to access social studies and science through reading and math. And in conversations with many of those superintendents, they would say, yes, we are still doing science and math. They're doing it by reading a book on a famous scientist or a famous person in social studies. And from a teacher perspective, I think we would agree that that's not all what science is. There's a lot more to it. And so the superintendent has a different perspective of what's happening in their schools than teachers do. And it's really important for teachers to get their voices out there. And then with teacher leaderships, we have unique opportunities for learning. Schools, again, tend to kind of enclave and say, oh, this year we're learning about social emotional learning. And like they all work on the same things. We can provide a lot of unique learning opportunities. We are working this year with Safe Harbor, Schoharie County. We will be having a week-long conference, like an hour each day, dealing with child trafficking. Now, hopefully that's not an issue or something for that your school has to worry about, but wouldn't it be nice if there is some people in the school that are aware and alert and are paying attention to that issue, right? So we can provide those opportunities. So the reason that we're providing this training is we really need your support as building ambassadors and policy board members, because teachers have lost their power and clout over the years. When teacher centers were originally created, it was because teachers demanded that they have this program, a center like this. And now we're having trouble getting people to even attend any of our programs, and we just need people to come and support us. I had said at one of the conferences I was at, or a talk about the education reform movement, And I was a union president at that time. And I said, you know, teachers are being worked into submission, right? If all we do is say, you have to do this, this, and this, then all we can do is comply with things. And then we can't look outside our classrooms and outside our schools and say, what else can we provide? And teacher centers still have that ability to do that. I've gone to many schools to talk about what teacher centers do and try to get teachers to come to us. And afterwards, I would say to teachers, one, what did you think of the presentation? And two, how do I get you to come to our programs? And inevitably, somebody would say, well, tell the principal and tell them to make us come. I'm going, no, that's exactly the opposite of what we're intending to do, right? Unfortunately, many teachers lost passion or are compliant based. I've talked to teachers that said, I've met my CTLE requirements. I don't need to know anymore. We've also done almost too good of a job in some senses with compensation packages. Teachers should be compensated for the amount of time that they spend on learning. And the union has done a pretty good job of getting schools to pony up more money and that kind of stuff. But then the side effect has been that the intrinsic value of learning has kind of gone away. And so a lot of teachers are saying, well, I'm not getting compensated for that, so I'm not going. So that can be a struggle. And I talked a little bit about the social media values, right? Care and compassion, that's what we're being perceived as. And I'm a special ed teacher, and I know care and compassion is the key, right? The kids need to know that you care about them and that you are going to be there for them. But that's not what makes us more valuable than the general public. It's our professional knowledge base, right? But if you look at social media, nobody's running around going, well, I can't say nobody, but I mean, it's rare that you're going around saying, look, I've attended this, I've done this great thing to make me a better teacher. It's really about, I bought so many supplies for my classroom and I did this for my students. And that's what we're putting out there for social media. And that I think hurts our professionalism. This all has directly impacted our participation. And I think we really need you guys to bring out more people to our programs. So as a result of this, we've had national speakers with attendance of 1. We had Elizabeth Hamboldt come and present to us on the transition from high school to college for special ed. The law actually shifts and changes a bit. I, as a special ed teacher, didn't really know very much about that at all. I put it out to all the teachers in our region. She goes around the country to speak. We bought several of her books. We had one person attend. We've had thousands of programs that are worth thousands of dollars with the Living History this week has 3 people. That's going to cost the Living History Foundation about $2,000. It's really struggling, you know. Then when I say to Joe, can we do this again? He looks and says, how many did you get last time? Why would I do that, right? We've canceled several high quality programs. We had a great geology program that we had to cancel. One of the programs that I just thought was tremendously valuable was a program called Occupational Trends, where we went around to area businesses and asked the business owners, what are they seeing from the students that are graduating from our schools? What would they like to see? You know, it was a great dialogue, again, from a teacher perspective. And we tried running it, and we had a handful of people show up, and the person who was helping me to organize it said, I can't approach the businesses if you can't get more teachers than this. And so, and it hurts our ability to build local capacity. Delaware County, Cornell Cooperative Extension, I sit on their ACES team, and they wanted to survey teachers to find out what the teachers' needs are. And I said, you know, I represent teachers. I can connect to close to 3,000 teachers. And they said, great, will you help us build a survey? And I helped them build a survey to send out to teachers. And I sent it out through the Building Ambassador Network, and they got a response of about 100 people. And I said, forget it, we're just gonna go through administration, right? So we actually, if people don't participate in our programs and we don't connect with teachers, much more goes through from to the top and then has to trickle down. So we're hoping that building the Building Ambassador Network will get people to come to our programs, and that will empower teachers. You are the link to our success. We completely thank you guys. We know that the schools that have really strong building ambassadors, they're the ones that get the most people coming to our programs and find a lot of value in what we're doing. And you became a building ambassador because somebody recognized your leadership skills. It should have been your association president. We are really supported by the union, and the association president nominates and puts the policy board together, but it could have been somebody else. All right, any questions from you guys?
Actually, I just wanted to clarify something. You said like a building ambassador network. Would that be like monthly meetings?
Yes.
Or is that part, and is that part of, I think I like that idea. I think for me, when I would send out the flyers or the newsletters, I would try to read over it and find something that I could like pull out and say like, hey, take a look at this if you're interested. And I would try to like do that in my email. And my plan this year is to try to do that at faculty meetings instead. But I think it would be a great idea because I didn't always understand all the programs, or there was too much information on the newsletter and I would kind of just skim it, you know? So I do like the idea of that like network meeting.
I think it's really valuable in connecting you to other districts, right? And what are you doing in that conversation? And so the key to this is getting a critical mass of building ambassadors that think this is a good idea.
Like I said, I think that's something that I'm hoping will help me promote the teacher center better.
Good.
In my district. You know, I don't know who the middle school, high school ambassador is at this point. I don't know if anyone was appointed or elected, because I technically, you know, I represent the elementary building, but my thought is if no one does get appointed to that position, you know, if I could try to make it to the high school, middle school faculty meetings where again, I can kind of put that plug in for the programs that are happening that, you know, pertain more to upper level or secondary ed.
Any other questions or thoughts? Was this helpful for you, Louis?
Yes, it was. Thank you very much for including me. You know, I never realized what my role was really all these years. It's probably my fault because I just wasn't really involved. But now that I have a better understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, and that's what we have to change.
I feel like this was just like our spiel that we should give at like opening day union meetings, right? Like this is why the teacher center is important, right?
Yes. I have a hard time connecting with union presidents to get them to understand why we're so important. I was a union president myself. I sat on the board for years and I just didn't understand myself even. So I get why, but yes, it is something that should be at each union meeting. And that's what I keep telling the union presidents too. I can come to your school either as a faculty meeting to talk about what Teacher Center does or through the union. I prefer to go through the union because that's why we exist.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone. Have a good day.